People they say water for pump. That attendance. I start my work at 6 a.m. I close by 8 p.m. My salary was what you spent coming here. Even the boats didn't accept to collect that. 1,500 naira in a month.
Wow.
With my SSCE, I managed to read books. Okay, so my friends, these 8 years, my classmates had all gone to school. About 60% of them were done with school. I hadn't still started. So I was too ashamed to connect with them. So I said to myself, if they have gone to school, I probably should read books so I can understand their vocabulary. At least let's say go to school in English, different from the one I never go. Fortunately for me, I started reading books on personal development. So I read books from John Maxwell to Les Brown to Jack Canfield to Tony Robbins. You know, and if you have a book, you be my friend, I'll borrow your book, I'll go do anything to get a book. Reading those books began to open my eyes to the possibility of dreams and vision and possibilities. And something called talent, something called gift, something called passion. That was how I discovered that I'm naturally good at speaking and teaching. And Les Brown said, the people that make it in this world, they look around for the circumstances that they want. If they can't find it, they create one. I'm very big at quotes, so if you don't like quotes, don't worry, I love it. That quote changed my life. When I decided to start my journey in 2013 as a speaker, nobody gave me the platform to speak. Everybody was scared because they didn't know what kind of message I was going to pass. They had built their platforms, they didn't like anybody that would come and spoil it for them. So I couldn't get any speaking gig. I decided to go to churches, they slammed the door at me. I don't blame the pastors. It's not easy to have church members. And some guy shows up from nowhere who has nothing and he decides to scatter your crowd. Because I'm a never give up person, not because I know how to not give up, because I know I don't have anybody to help me. So I just had to get up every day and do the work. I went back to them again. Thank you. Thank you. I went back to them again. This time around, I wanted to do my first event in this town. I started to do the Achievers Conference. That way, I could share my journey, my story of how I stayed at home for all these years, you know, and then inspire people in Diob. I grew up in Diob. Any Diob person there? Afana, you position where nothing do you. So that's where I grew up. I knew the sound of guns, I knew the sound of gangsterism, all those things, but thank God Diob has repented. We're not like that before. Yeah, we don't change. We're no longer there anymore. So in summary of it, these journeys were the things that really inspired me to get going. Reading those books helped created the foundation for me. And you know, to cut the story short, I moved from earning 1,500 naira a month to earning at least 150K per speaking gig. I've written 2 books because one day I sat in a training like this where Emeka Nobis and was speaking. IB, Belema Green, was sitting next to me. And every time Emeka Nobis would be teaching, he would use IB as an example. And I was angry that Emeka was not using me. So I said, why is he not using me? He said, because you're confused. Today you're a motivational speaker, tomorrow you're into a relationship, next tomorrow you're posting. So I began to refine and rebuild what I'm doing. So I connected with Emeka Nobis. I am big on spending on personal development. Today I'm a graduate of business admin and management. I run my own company, Kingstar Resources, and I do all this stuff. It wasn't easy, right? It wasn't easy. It was a shared determination that I was going to make it. I've written my book. I think I'm beginning to clock the level of people who have sold hard copies. My book, I've sold close to 500 copies, hard copies. Start small, sell out. And if you do the math, 2,500 per copy, multiply by 400 copies, you see the amount.
Thank you.
So thank you. The long way, but almost not here.
Thank you so much. Please a round of applause for Mr. Kingsley. That was a really inspiring story. Sincerely, if we just dedicate this panel session to hearing stories, we will be fulfilled today. And one connection that I have picked from different panelists who have spoken today is the power of books, the power of books, the power of personal development. Personally for me, the book that changed my life is called The Autobiography of Oprah Winfrey. How many persons have read that book? I thank God for that day. I don't know what drove us home from university. I don't think it was school fee because they don't drive home for school fee in universities. But something happened and I followed my classmates home. I can't remember what happened. And as I entered my classmate's room, I saw the book and I picked it. I think I was 19 years and I picked that book. I read a few pages and I was like, I need to go home with this book. And my classmate was like, no, you can't go home. This book is not mine. I said, I'll return it the next day. And I took that book home. And you know that kind of book that you're reading on the road and you're trying to make sure car doesn't hit you?
Yeah.
for those people who used to read romance novel in schools, you know that kind of addiction that comes. I was literally reading the book and I go home, I finished it, the next day I read on it. 3 things that book taught me. It taught me guts. G-U-T.
Yeah.
You know, growing up, they would say, growing up, I used to be someone that if you're talking to me, I'll be looking at you like this. Not because I disrespect you, but because that's just how I look. So my mother will be like, you this speaking, you know the fear person. Bring your eyes down. So when my mother is talking to me, I'll be doing like this. So I went for a seminar that reconstructed it. The seminar said, the lady said, not a seminar, it was a teen conference. And she said, she gave us a trick. We were young teenagers, guys will look at you and call you because you're growing, you know. And she said, if you want to disarm a guy, I'm not supposed to say this way guys are. They will take this secret. She said, if you want to disarm a guy, and trust me, it has worked for me. She said, if the guy is talking to you, look him in the eyes. And he will lose, I'm not saying it so that you accept, but it's something that has worked for me. She said, if a guy is trying to ask you out and he's disturbing you, one day just stop and say, yes, what are you saying? Okay. Like, look him in the eye. And she was like, look him straight into the eye, and the guy would lose what he wants to say. He won't see you. In short, he will not even look for you the next day. And it worked for me. And then I was like, why is my mother telling me not to look at people? And when you look at people when they are talking, it shows confidence. But when you just do like this, it shows that you are, some people call it humble. It's not humble. You are timid. It's not humble, it's timid. So when I read Oprah Winfrey's book, Gods, I was like, who will I obey, Oprah Winfrey or my mother? Children, obey their parents in the Lord, for this is right. Who am I going to obey? And I picked it up. God, and gratitude. 3 things I picked. And see, that has changed me. For every move I make today, I remember Oprah Winfrey. I remember that book, the autobiography of Oprah Winfrey. So what you are getting today is the autobiography of these young people today. And it's trust me, I don't like to use the word privilege because somebody has used it on me and it's created some kind of mindset I'm trying to unlearn. So until I unlearn it, I don't like to use it on people. But this is an amazing opportunity for you to listen to these young people. So, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for everyone who has shared their story. Okay, so, Console, amazing. When they talk about video making, you want to do videos, this is the person. You just need this console. You just need this console and you get it. So, Mara, please tell us, how did it start for you? How did you become that go-to videographer with your phone, right? Wow. It's gone are those days where if you need to make a video, you just bring this and all. With her phone, if you see the video she did for the panelists, it's amazing. So please tell us, how did it start?
Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, my story, I would say, is quite an emotional one. Because I grew up feeling small. I had a lot of issues with this inferiority complex. It drew me back. I felt small amongst my age mates. In fact, I was controlled by my age mates. Like, you know, someone chancing you, telling you, do this, that kind of a thing. And this thing stemmed from abuse when I was younger. So it actually affected me for a very long time, even while I was in the university. I was one of the best in my class, but I would say I passed through the school, but the school did not pass through me. So I was always trying to prove myself. You know, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know that I am amazing. Of course, I am amazing. So it actually affected me. I could not, you know, embark on something and, you know, be really proud that, okay, this is what I can do, and, you know, and I'm like happy, okay, I did this. So it was really, really hard. So while I wrote JAMB 3 times. I was a science student. I still haven't figured who I was. And then one day I sat down, I started crying. And my friend called me and said, what do you want? I was in ESUT one then. I went to write post-UME. My friend was like, what do you want? I was just crying. I said, I don't want to do science, I want to do art. And he said, that's it, go back home. So I called my mom, and my mom was like, I don't understand, you've stayed at home 3 years, you can't do this. And my younger brother was immediate. So he was in the ESUT with me. So I went home and I registered for GCE. I read for the first time art, and I passed. I took the JAM curriculum. I read everything. That was the first time I didn't know anything about art, government, and all those subjects. I read them and I passed. I wrote post-UME. I passed. University of Benin. I read them. I passed. So before then, I was always doing, this miracle center. I actually came here. I slept. What do they call it? Residential hotel? That area. Yes. I slept there overnight. I wrote JAM here. Like, I went to a lot of places. But when I discovered that I'm actually intelligent, of course, I am. I was like, you can't do this. And I did it. And I passed. I first list, University of Benin. I was like, you can't do this. So from there, because of the experiences, I had to focus on just books. So I didn't learn any skill, although I'm an Onitsha woman, so I did correct business, like sort of Reka well. So that was the only thing I did. I didn't learn any skill, nothing. Then I graduated, COVID hit. So it was COVID that made me, ask myself, what can you do? So I started video creation. I was using Render Forest then, and I was, practicing. I've always had this thing for creativity, so I said, you can do this. I have a lot of images of graphics, of photography in my phone. I still have them here. And I said, this is what you should do. And then I started. So after making the decision that I was going to embark on this particular niche, I started doing it. My first course was free of charge, but I did not take it for granted. I practiced and practiced. When I mean practice, in less than 3 months, I was good. I can do this now. Like, I can do this. And the first course, after learning, I was so much in a rush. I attended a lot of online classes. I was so much in a rush to teach, just like you said. So I joined a lady then to organize a copywriting course. Can you imagine? A copywriting course. And I made 7K from the course. And it was scammed, as in somebody scammed me. That 7K right there and then. And I was like, I was frustrated, but I said, no, let me calm down and learn. So I now started digging deep, you understand? I started digging deep and started practicing. And that consistency helped me to grow up to this point that I am in. And I am still growing very fast.
Thank you so much. So we just have we have about 15 minutes left. So while we also take the remaining panelists for them to share their story, like I said, if all we do here is just listen to stories and then ask questions, I'm sure we would go back home and we can carry mountains. So please just write your questions down, because we would be reading the questions. So you will not, because if we have to hand off the mic, you just. So please write your questions down. Ushers, please help collect the questions. We'll just take about 5 to 10, please, and we'll go straight to the point to answer them. So please make it brief, understandable, so that when it's being read out, the panelists here will just attack the questions with answers. Okay, so something she said very striking: practice. For all those people, I'm going to be breaking tables here. The thing is that the tables are iron tables. I don't care. They are going to break in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so something she said very striking: practice. You will buy online course. You will not ask the coach, am I going to make money after buying? Is that how I used to do? You say, I hope as I buy this course now, this is my last 1,000 naira. I hope if I buy it now, you even say, please, can I send 900 so that 100 will remain in my account? If I buy this course now, I hope it is going to change my life. I hope I'll begin to make money immediately I receive a debit alert. It doesn't work like that. You have to practice. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep practicing. So please, if you're one of these people that when you buy online course, you want to, when you enter university, do you used to collect your certificate the next day? No, nah. So why do you think that you have to deal with people who sell courses, even physical courses, the same way? So please, you have to practice. Okay. Smile, Preneur. Please smile for us now. She smiles very well. Like, we did a competition at the backdrop. I said I'm going to share that picture and you pick a winner. You better pick me. Okay, so tell us, how has it been for you? This lady is loaded. She's loaded. So how has it been for you? If you're thinking of going to NYSC or you've already gone for NYSC and you think you made a mistake, you need to get her book. It will guide you on how to thrive. So tell us, how did it begin for you? How did you start selling out copies of books, selling out classes? Oh my God. If you're not following her, please follow her. I know what I'm saying. Tell us.
Okay, thank you so much. Alright, thank you so much, Ma. Good morning, everybody. My name is Esther Odemige, and my story is kind of similar to ours, kind of. My journey started when I graduated from University of Benin, December 2019. I studied integrated science education, and my plan, I graduated December 2019. My plan was, that moment when your life is structured already, after school, NYSC, you go and work, get married, that kind of life. So, so when I graduated 2019, my plan for 2020 was to go for NYSC, but unfortunately, COVID-19 came up and all of that. So I was at home that year. And I never knew anything about the online space because the way I lived my life as an undergraduate was kind of triangular from, hostel to lecture theatre to campus fellowship back to hostel. So I was not really exposed to the online space. That's why if you are here this morning, if you're an undergraduate listening to me, don't just live your life like that in school. Okay, so before that time, that was in 2020 during the COVID. You see, I do tell people that COVID-19 was a blessing for me. It was really a blessing. It was not really good, but it was really a blessing to me. So I was at home one day, I picked up my phone, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I loved writing because in school back then I normally do this spoken word poetry. I write poetry a lot, I perform in my campus fellowships, other fellowships invite me, I perform and all of that. They were not giving me money, obviously, but I just love doing it, it gives me joy. So in 2020, I was scrolling through Facebook one day and I saw copywriting. That's my journey into making money started. I never knew what was copywriting, but because I just saw the word writing, I was interested. Some of you know Bachelor of Copywriting. We're the one that started it. So I read BOC 4, July 2020. So I enrolled for the class. That was the first time paying for an online class. I paid 5,000 naira. I took the course, and I was very consistent, dedicated in class. I'm always the first person in class and everything. They even called me class rep then because we had 303 in that set. So I took the course and I hear people saying you're making money and all of that. I've not even practiced anything. I organized my first class. That was the next month, August 2020. So it was 1,000 naira. And I was fortunate enough, I made 123,000 naira that month. That moment, it's 1,000 naira. So the way the alert is coming, like 1,000 naira into 123 places, it was mad, trust me. Like I will sleep, I'll wake up, I'll see a lot. I was like, this thing is working. This thing is working. Because I had this terrible mindset that time. I'm like, you can't really make money online if it's not illegal. My mindset was that terrible. So when I hear people say you make millions online, I go, forget that thing, Yahoo, that kind of thing. So when I was seeing it, I was like, this thing is real and all of that. So after that class, I had to now pause, just like Console said. I was like, for real, I don't know this copywriting, I should not lie. So I had to drop class that period, and I started reading copywriting books. Because hosting classes as a copywriter is just one stream of income for that skill. So I dig deep into it, learn the business of the skill, and I saw that just write one copy, see if you can make more than that. I can make more than that just writing one copy for a client. You can make as high as 150k, 200k just for a copy. So I had to sit down and learn the business of the skill, and from that 2020 team now, I know how much I've made online and everything. So it was a very beautiful journey, basically. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
I'm going to point out 3 things that really helped me, and they're actually sad events that shaped my becoming. Now, the first thing is that I was actually born into a very poor family. In fact, when I was born, it was so bad that just like every other person, or unlike every other person, I wasn't born in a hospital. I was actually born in our parlor because my parents then could not afford to take my mom to the hospital, okay? So that's just one of it. Then the second, while I was growing up, I struggled with speaking. I couldn't talk until I was, I think, around 3 years old and all that. And everybody thought I was going to be a dumb boy. Okay, I guess that period I was just observing and accumulating, knowledge and all that. So when I finally started talking, I got into school, primary school, secondary school. It was amazing. Surprisingly, I was very brilliant, very, very brilliant then. And it was an advantage because it was easy for people to just like me. Okay, so my teachers loved me, everybody loved me, but the money was not there. We were really struggling. So there was this particular scenario that played out. This thing they do in school, when they want to chase those that have not paid for school fees, after devotion, they say, if you've not paid, come this side. If you've paid, come this side. And they did something like that, and unfortunately, I was among those that have not paid, so I came to our side. And then our teacher then, one of our teachers then sang one of these children poems. Some have food but cannot eat. Some can eat but have no food. I read meaning into those words. What she simply meant was that I don't have food but I can eat. You understand? So I went back and I was thinking deep. I really cried that day. Okay, then another situation that played out, I had an accident sometime and it almost took one of my legs. So all these things came together to actually help me become more intentional. Okay, I promised myself that I was going to change the narrative in my family. I was going to ensure that my children would not suffer some of the things I suffered, and it's directed my path. Even though I was still confused on how to go about it, but I was bent on ensuring that I become an independent person. So I never loved people coming to help me. I want to do things myself. I want to be able to buy the things I need. Especially when my dad promised us bicycle all through my school days. Score first position, she will get bicycle. I did all my best, scored all the first position, it never came. So I promised myself that I was going to buy myself my first bicycle. I got myself virtually everything. The first ones I always got is for myself. Amen. So that was just the sad part of the story. So while I came into the online space, I think around 2012, I was posting randomly, sharing my story, making people feel happy, helping people get better. Just like I say, nobody is a nobody. So I was just sharing my story online. I was not too intentional. I didn't have focus until 2018. I came into the year and I told myself, this year, I'm not going to do any other thing except learning. There was no New Year resolution, no goals, nothing. I just told myself I'm going to learn all through the year. And that was what I did in 2018. Unfortunately for me, that was when I actually got in contact with the Don Emeka Nobis. So I read from him almost every day. I was reading and assimilating knowledge until 2019, when I was ready to start implementing all I've learned. So I was privileged to attend this same conversation, the conversation with the Surge 2019, and I finally met the Don physically. Like he said, I couldn't even talk to him. I just took a picture where I just hid behind him and somebody took a selfie, and I was so satisfied. All the way from Abakaliki just to come and take a picture. It was really nice. So I actually went back home that day and I told myself that I was going to do everything possible to ensure that I deserve his audience. I was going to make sure people can also see me and they would want to take pictures with me. So that was how the story began. In 2019, I also listened to Daddy J.O. John Obidi when he said we are going global, and I said yes. I tapped into that particular declaration. So I went back and I started working on myself. I hosted my first writing class. It was a success. I hosted so many others. I think I had 15 editions of the writing mastery training before I started the smartphone graphic design master class, and it was awesome. And we've made lots of money online by God's grace, and we are still coming up. Amen.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Solomon. So before we have the last panelist share his story, please keep your questions. Please give your questions to the usher. She's standing there so we can take them. Questions are very important. Questions are very important. Okay, please share your story with us. 1 minute. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. In NLP, this stage is actually called the pedestal of self-righteousness. There's something being on a stage like this and then having to speak to people does to you. If you're not careful, it actually makes you feel like you're actually better than people you're speaking to. But that's not true, because quite a lot of people here, or I know a few persons here, and I've had personal conversations with some of you, and quite frankly, some of you even need to be here to share your stories. Some people here, most of us here, are not necessarily better than you, really. The difference is that we just know how to tell our stories better. But in experience, I think we're on the same level.
Yeah.
Having said that, I just want you to understand really that nobody really here is actually better than you. You're actually good and you're actually working at your own pace, okay? For me, really, I've been an entrepreneur right from when I was a kid. From primary school, I have been selling. I sold drinks. You know Eve, I don't even know Eve. I sold Eve because I realized that whenever I'm coming back home from school, on my street, there are 3 private schools. And unlike GRA where I'm coming from, whenever we close from school, we usually find people who sell ice cream and tasty time to students on the outside the gates. But that was not the same yet. So I discovered Eve and I realized that I could actually fill a bottle, a jug with water and then put one Eve, and then, you know, I could replicate many Eves and everything. And we had 2 fridges. We had a fridge and a freezer. And I would basically just put all the drinks inside the freezer. The next day, I'll come back from school as early as I can. My father's house is at the junction of our street. So people come in from different places, and I was basically there at the junction there, and I would sell out. So I became the bank of the house, because my other ones were actually borrowing money from me, and they were paying in interest. And then when I got into my secondary school, I noticed that the trend there was teenagers with love phones. Java phone was in vogue. So I knew that if I could actually save up money, buy a phone from a young boy like me who is broke, I could actually change the teams, you know, Sefan, Waptrick, you could get nice teams there. If I change the teams, sometimes buy all of this fake casing, I'll rebrand the phone, I'll sell it at a higher price. That was my business in secondary school. And I was a game addict. Video game addict. I had a PS2, I had an Xbox 360, and I had a PSP Vital, you know that slide, PSP slide. So that was another means of making money. So I would take the PSP Vital to school. My friends, they would rent it 30 minutes for 15 naira. I've always been an entrepreneur. Basically, I've always been an entrepreneur. Before I graduated from school, I noticed that I could teach because I was the JET president. I was a science student. I'm still a science student anyways. I was the JET president. So I noticed that I could teach. And someone had told me then, during my year 1, there was this corper that came and then they gave us an assignment. And after I made a presentation, he was like, "Are you a teacher?" I said, "No." He said, "You can teach." And that thought never left me. So in my SS2, going to SS3, I met one of the guys who actually helped me prepare for my GCE. And I was like, "I want to teach." And he was like, "What's your best subject?" I said, "Physics and biology." He said, "Go and learn the best topics in those subjects and come tomorrow." And the guy set me up. He put me in front of post-UTME students. I was in SS3. These guys had written JAM, they had written WAEC, they had written JAM, they had written post-UTME, I had not written WAEC. And he was like, "Come and teach these people physics." I was very lacking, compared to, look at me now, compared to that time then. So the guys, they were just looking at me and I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? And then I asked them one question, SI units, and I realized they couldn't answer the question. I was like, these guys are gone. And I bamboozled them and everything. And that was it. I became a teacher. When I got into university, I started teaching private classes. I started making money from teaching. In my 4th year, I started my own tutorial, okay? Eagle Island, there's the biggest school there. I can't, Bookyard, that's the name of the school. The owner of the school gave me the whole building. And the principal of the previous school that I was actually teaching, I poached him, I employed him. I employed 2 other graduates. I was in my 4th year then, and they were on my payroll. But the business crashed anyways. But what I'm saying is that I've always been an entrepreneur, basically. And if there's one thing that has really, really helped me, that has helped me gotten this far, it is that I am a crazy risk taker. And that's the idea. That's what differentiates the winners from the losers. If you are not brave enough to take risk, forget about it. I don't care what you know, your certifications, but if you are not ready to put your head on the line, you will not get anywhere.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rano. Okay, so Ms. Nestle, please share your story.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here today, speaking to everybody. It's actually my first panel session and it's actually a big win for me. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go way back, how I got into the online space basically. So we all remember Linda Ikeji's blog, right? So back then I had this, I was in SS2 and my dad got me this C2, Techno C2 phone. So then on Opera Mini, you would see daily updates from there. So that was how I started reading Linda Ikeji's blog. So I knew I wanted to put my stories out there. I knew I wanted to talk to thousands of people, but I knew I didn't want to do gossip because I felt like this isn't what it is supposed to be, right? That didn't work for me. So I knew I wanted to do that, but I didn't get into it immediately. So in 2016, during my IT, I decided that, you know what, let me see if I can try this blogging thing. So I created my first blog with my Techno phone back then. I love my phone a lot because that's what I used to work. So that was how I started my first blog. I started blogging, I started writing. I used to talk a lot about natural hair care. I do all of those things. So one day, someone sent me a link to a free class and I joined the class. And like so many free classes, I would like to tell us that if you ever attend a free class, make sure you pick out something from there and implement. I am very big on implementation. So I took out from all the lessons she taught how to make money on, and she talked about writing ebooks. So after that, I decided to write my first ebook about natural hair care, how to take care of your hair. So I was in camp then, in NYSC camp. I wrote that ebook in camp, I finished it up, and I started selling it from camp. So that was it. People were always asking me questions about natural and all of that, but I knew that this is not where I want to be in for a long time. I knew that I needed to evolve. I believe in starting from where you are and evolving, right? So I knew I didn't want to be there for a long time. So I went through this phase of not knowing what to do. I was a very confused person because I felt like I was multi-talented. I could learn different things and I could just do so many things at the same time. So I was all over the place. So in 2020, I was passing out from youth service. I was rounding up with my youth service, and I knew that I didn't want to start carrying CV to look for a job. I knew it wasn't going to happen. So on one of those days, I decided that I was going to go into social media marketing. Social media basically, because I was almost always on my phone. I was always on social media. So if I'm spending time on social media, I can as well start making money from there. And that decision changed everything from me. So I didn't know how to I didn't know the business part of it. I didn't know a lot of things. I asked a couple of friends, oh, what can I do, this and that? And randomly, it was like a very random comment on Instagram, the way you follow all of the big pages and then you're not leaving thoughtful comments there. Please start doing it. So I left a random comment, and that was how I landed my first 3 gigs, and they all came through that comment. I had not even started completely, so it just felt like the moment I took a step, God just crowned it and said, you know what, this is what you should be doing. So that was how I started social media management. And the day I was going to round up with my NYSC, there was going to be lockdown that week, so they rushed us up and made sure we finished. So the next day, that was that I got my first social media management gig, and I knew that this is where I was going to stay and thrive. And from there, in the space of 1 month, I got 3 gigs. I started social media marketing, social media management. I started reading up a lot about it, following people, trying to learn more about it. I didn't start teaching people about it. I started learning first and helping other people.
Thank you
right?
so much.
In the period, excuse me. So while doing all of that, people wanted to start learning more. I started implementing more. If there is one thing that anybody who has come in contact with me before now, they would know that Nessie is very consistent. You see, consistency, I don't joke with it. I believe in progress, taking a step today and taking another step tomorrow. I'm not just waiting for the big picture. So that was how I started everything. And I would like to tell you that today, with everything I have learned, with everything that I have implemented, and by staying consistent, I have gotten results that have wowed me.
Thank you.
From there, I am also in the process of launching my first signature course, and I think it's a very big win for me, because I'm today again coming on stage to speak to people as a social media marketing coach and strategist. It is a very, very big win for me. So that's my story.
Thank you so much, Nessie. Okay, thank you so much for sitting tight, guys. We just fast will attack the questions. The panelists just have 30 seconds to attack the questions. One person just asked 3 strong wire questions. So we are going to just attack the questions. Please, panelists, can we start with you, Mr. Emmanuel? Okay.
So I'm struggling to understand this question. One word is confusing me. Despite coming from, is it routing or rotting?
Can you just read it all
Routing,
together?
yeah. Routing background. How can I find my potential?
Rotten. I think the person means rotten.
Rotting. Okay, rotting. So despite coming from rotting. Well, so in physics, there's something called potential energy and then kinetic energy, right? Potential energy is static, and then kinetic energy is energy in force, if I'm correct. So you really don't find your potential. Your potential is innate. It's right there within you. You just have to ask the right questions. The right questions will lead you to it. So what are those things that you actually do, that you do really, that even if nobody pays you for it, you just do it, you love to do it? Or what are those things that frustrate you about other people? Like for me, really, if you cannot, I'm sapiosexual, if you cannot have intelligent conversation with me, I get bored easily. So that's why I try as much as I can to make sure I myself I am learning and I keep learning to actually impact and have intelligent conversation with other people. So you have to find those things, and then you don't just stay there, you have to convert them into moving energy. Because if you don't convert it, you are going to get frustrated, you will be potentially broke, you'll be potentially frustrated and depressed. So you have to listen, ask yourself, what are those things that are natural to my core? You know, those things that people appreciate about me. You can ask people also, you know, it's easier to point you to those things, and then find out they can be 5, 6, 7, narrow them down, convert them into kinetic energy, work on them, refine them, and then start disposing them. That's the way it works, okay?
Okay. Great. Okay, so somebody, just to add to it, somebody said this to me about 10 years ago. He said, don't let your background put your back on the ground. Someone said that in a conference I attended. And so whoever you are asking that question, despite coming from a rotten background, how can I find my potential? Your potential has no business to do with your background. They are two separate things. So just try to detach yourself from your background. Let's leave your background where it is in the ground. And you start moving with what he said. Just start doing. Most of us here, you heard that story. You heard his story. His father died 21 years ago. So you can imagine how old he was then. My father died when I was 3. My mom is a single mother, and she has been, so a lot of us here want to go deep into, probably no time for us to share the rotten parts of our background. Do you understand? But what I want to tell you today is, don't let your background put your back on the ground. Pick that thing that you have, just like he said, and start moving towards it. Okay, thank you.
The question I have here says, how can I effortlessly write and perform my spoken word piece? First of all, the question again, how can I effortlessly write and perform my spoken word piece? This person, you don't want to pay for training. To be honest, I really can't explain this in detail, but let me tell you something. To become a good spoken word artist, you have to understand poetry and how to play with words. So read a whole lot of poetry books, watch a lot of spoken word artists, watch their videos. You see a whole lot on TikTok, on Facebook. Just Google maybe with the hashtag spoken word. You see a whole lot of videos, you learn from them. But the best way to go and pay for training. And also, let me tell you, if you want to grow, rap music also actually helps. But if you want to grow, you have to understand that you cannot compare. You have to give yourself time to grow. I can't compare my first spoken word piece to my last one. There is growth. So anytime you perform a spoken word piece, ask yourself, how can I be better? What can I do to perform better, to make my lyrics richer and all of that? But like I told you, I can't answer this question here. Go and pay for training.
So just meet her. We have spoken word poet here, and she's also a spoken word poet. So if you're the one who has that question, please meet them and learn. People are making so much money with spoken word poetry, and even more with the business of spoken word poetry. Okay.
Okay, I have 2 questions. This is something. Please, what's your full name? Why are you asking?
Short. Mr. Emeka talked about short. So who knows?
People usually doubt the Don in my name most of the time. That's why they ask me what's my full name. Don is my name. Don Ugu Joseph Chimela. That's my name. Okay, that's my full name. All right. As a business owner with a physical office in Port Harcourt, what were the 2 major challenges you had to deal with in choosing and settling your physical office in Port Harcourt? How did you deal with them? Basically, in setting up my office, I had to think where is central enough, where is accessible, because I want to be running trainings. I'm in the teaching and coaching business, so I want to be able to run trainings from time to time. I was looking for, first off, a serene location. So I considered a couple places. I considered GRA, I considered Eagle Island, I considered Elekaya House in the States, and I finally settled for that. And that challenge is with the agents as well. You know that they lie a lot, so anything they tell you, try to verify. And then I started working in my office and I discovered there was no wiring at all in the building. Try to verify, okay? Check everything, go and ask people, ask the neighbors. Don't skip the neighbors, don't ask people in the third compound. Those people lie too. All right, so that is it basically. Thank you very much.
Right, so the question here is, what should one consider before choosing a niche? there are several things to consider before choosing a niche, but I think some of the things I have used that has helped me define my niche is my strength. Everybody has a strength and everybody has a weakness. So ask yourself, what's my strength? That there are people that their strength is speaking and not writing. But you know, speaking and writing goes along with each other, right? So you can choose your strength, which is speaking, and then you get someone to do ghostwriting for you, which is writing. So one of the ways to pick a niche for me is look at your strength, look at your weakness. Start with your strength before you try to dive into your weakness. Again, you can also listen to, I'm saying that because the surgeon is looking at me one eye. Another way, if you're a business person, is listen to what the market needs. You know, I'm a proponent of passion, but he has converted me, so don't just stay on passion. What does the market need? What is the market crying for? You could create a niche from there. And then finally, in a very simple way, make a list of 10 things you can't do, not things you want to do. 10 things you can do, and out of the 10 things you can do, ask yourself in a scale of 1 to 10, which is 10, which is 1, which is 5. And then you bring out the first 5 from that 10 list, and among the 5 that you brought out again, do a scale of 1 to 10 again. Which one gives me fulfillment? Which one gives me is in the area of my strength? Which one can I do easily? And then you pick your first 3. I mean, everybody has at least 3 things they do. So you could stay around there. I'm a business development consultant. I'm big in public speaking, very good at that. And I'm also very passionate about raising leaders as a success coach. So you see, those are the 3 things that I do. So there's no one way, of course, again, join Clarity coaching session and then you get more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause.
All right, the question here is, do you think the online space is saturated? Okay, I don't think, I know. Right, so the online space is saturated, that's the truth. Now, when you know that, the next question now is, now that the online space is saturated, you know, we have, in the copywriting, for example, in copywriting, we have so many copywriters. In graphic design, we have so many graphic designers. In fact, any skill at all, right? We have so many persons there. Now, the question is, how do I now make money now that everybody is doing the same thing I'm doing? So the first thing you must understand is looking for a unique selling point. Right? What's that thing that differentiates you from the other person? Looking for a unique selling point. So if you are here this morning, you have one skill or the other, and you have so many persons in that niche equally, sit down and start thinking, what will differentiate me from this person in the same niche? When you go to the market, for example, you see, you go to some space, you see everybody like in that line selling fish, for example. But some persons will always have customers more than others. Some will sell more than others that day, right? So the first thing you must understand is looking for your unique selling points. And after that, you should understand audience nurturing. So as a copywriter, for example, some persons will like, people buy my courses, my trainings, and we have other copywriters too. Why? Because of the way I've nurtured them. So you must pay attention to audience nurturing. That's what will bring the money to you, right? So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Please let's encourage our panelists when they answer questions.
Okay, this question says, I've always wanted to write a book, but I don't know how to go about it. Who reviews your book? And how do you go about it? Okay, we've said a lot about writing of books, and trust me, it's very, very profitable because it gives you an opportunity to solve a problem and also reach a wider audience. Okay, so talking about how to go about it, first you must identify a problem you wish to solve and be sure you have the capacity to solve that problem. You have enough information, probably out of experience or out of knowledge acquired, you are able to solve the problem. Okay, then you can now go ahead to write down those problems, write down the solutions you are willing to offer through your book. And talking about who reviews your book, we have professionals who actually does that. We have book editors, we have proofreaders, we have consultants also, book writing consultants that you can actually reach out to, and they guide you through the writing and publishing of your book. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. A round of applause. So we still have more questions, and the MC, everybody's looking at me because I'm supposedly the moderator.
Just looking. She's standing.
Yeah, she's standing. So what we'll just do is that we'll just do a recap because most of the
Let me help you.
most of the questions here.
No, really, calm down, drink water. Okay, so men and brethren, how are you? A round of applause for Verlin. Clap well, man. And for this awesome panelists, that was always beautiful to see you. Please, a round of applause for panelists. Okay, so there's going to be like a 10-minute break after this. So if you have questions, you want to snap picture, you want to ask them more detailed questions about their life experiences, you want to ask them how they made money, you will meet them in the back. The reason I'm doing this thing for you people is because they said this person should come to this part. Uche Murphy. Uches Murphy. That's what they wrote here. If you're Uche Murphy, please, you're needed at the back. And for those who are just coming, my name is Belema Green. I'm the co-anchor of this event. And if you're expecting somebody really serious, I'm really sorry to disappoint you. This is a conversation. Okay, so we can't exhaust all your questions. We would love to, but we have other things and we don't want to lose your interest. And I already know that some of you are hungry. Just feeling, I can feel it. I can feel your hunger now. So there is, we have the food fixer, Peniel, at the back. She has affordable food. We are really nice. We don't want to kill you. Then there's Eden. So in case you want to impress somebody, from like 3-5 up, they come back. But if you go outside, there's somebody, then there's a kiosk, gala and drink, cannot go wrong. Just hold yourself. We have all that. So we're going to have that break in between, and just to make it easy, I would implore that you guys be here, because if you enter the crowd now, then they rush you. So they cannot be rushing you like this. So they will be here, and then if you have questions for them, you can come and interact, take numbers, call and all that. So I would allow Verilyn to wrap up this, and then